Hey everybody, tonight's practice at home is StudyLink 4.1, which is on page 85 in the StudyLink book. We talked about equivalent fractions today, and I'm not going to give the answer to every question on here, but at least point you in the right direction so that parents, you can help your kids out if they need it. The first 6 questions there say find an equivalent fraction by multiplying. All we mean there is you're taking both the denominator and the numerator and you're multiplying them both by the same number to get a fraction that's equal to that. So the easiest way to do it is always just to multiply by 2. So if we multiply 4 by 2, we get 8. Multiply 5 by 2, we get 10. And so one equivalent fraction to 4/5 is 8/10. And they can multiply by 3, 5, I mean they can really multiply by anything. Here if we multiply by 10, this becomes 70 over 100. You can multiply by 3 and get 3/12, so on and so forth. You get the point there. The second set there from 7 to 12 is find an equivalent fraction by dividing. It's a little bit more difficult because you can't just pick any random number. They both numbers, the top and the bottom, have to be divisible by that number. So this is where knowing the factors comes in really importantly there. We have to know what 9 and 12 are both divisible by. Those can both be divided by 3. If you divide 9 by 3, that's 3. If you divide 12 by 3, that's 4. So an equivalent fraction by dividing there would be 3/4. Anytime you have zeros, we know we can just divide by 10 and cross both of those off and get 2/10. We could also find one more equivalent fraction there by dividing and divide 2 and 10 both by 2 and get 1/5. You don't have to go all the way. It doesn't say you have to put them in simplest form here. They just either one of those will be fine. And there's other things that 20 and 100 are also both divisible by. 4 and 16 you could divide by 2. You could divide by 4. 30 over 12, it doesn't matter that the bigger number's on top, that's fine. Again, those can be divided by 2. Those can be divided by 6. Those can also be divided by 3. Here we can divide by 10. We can divide by 5. We can divide by 2 there also. 16 and 24 can be divisible by a lot of things. 8, 4, 2, and any of those would work too. So you're just dividing them each by the same number. For 13 through 16, you're kind of combining what we did up here, and they just want you to write 3 different equivalent fractions for each of these. So with 1/3, it's already in simplest form, so we can't divide that by anything, but you can multiply it by 2, then multiply it by 3, and then by 4, just by 2, by 2, by 2, however you want that to work. Some of these you can divide, so those are both divisible by 25 or 5 or whatever it is. 6, we talked to the kids, is equal to 6 over 1 as the fraction, so once you have that, then you can kind of, again, that's in simplest form as it is, so these would have to be equivalent fractions by multiplying. 12/5, again, neither one of those can be divided by the same thing, so we can't reduce that, but we could multiply it by any number of numbers there. For simplest form, that's kind of the next step of writing an equivalent fraction by dividing. We're going to do the same thing, except we have to divide them both by their greatest common factor. Or maybe we don't do that, but let's say we start by dividing 8/16 by 2 and get 4/8. We're not done. We have to keep going. We could divide by 2 again and get 2/4. We could still keep going, have to divide by 2 again and get 1/2. Or from the very beginning, you could have seen we could divide both of them by 8 to start to get right to 1/2. Either way, we do have to end up all the way here at the simplest form of the fraction. 6 and 9, the hint there is divide by 3. 3 and 15, divide by 3. 10 and 25, divide by 5. 6 and 16, divide by 2. And then 14 and 49 are both divisible by 7. So careful there with those. 23 through 25, or find the missing numbers. This is where we told kids, okay, how did we get from 5 to 15? We multiplied by 3, so just do the same thing up here. 1 times 3 is 3, so x is equal to 3. How did we get from 3 to 18? 3 times 6 is 18, so 2 times 6 will be, that's 12. Here we doubled to get from 25 to 50, so double to get from 15 to whatever m will be. And then the practice at the bottom, which we do want the kids to do, and if they need to, show their work on the back because they didn't leave us much room for our long division here, but just a little review and a chance to kind of build on what we've done in the past and what we did today. We want to solve these using long division and then express the remainder as a fraction in simplest form. So I'll do the first one on the back here. 24 divided by 654. If I flip over here, 24 and 654, and sorry for saying it the wrong way, 654 divided by 24. We need to know the multiples of 24, so if we list those off to the side, we add 4 each time for the ones column, so 4 plus 4 is 8, 8 plus 4 is 12, we just write the 2, 6, 0, and there's our pattern, so we can just repeat it to get the next 5 terms to have the first 10. And then what we've been teaching the kids all along is you just add 2 every time. Unless our ones column resets and goes down instead of going up, then we have to add an extra one because we're really carrying a 10 over. So here this will be 4. Instead of adding 2 here, we're going to add 3. We add 2 here. Instead of adding 2 here, we add 3, add 2, add 2. Instead of adding 2 here, we add 3. Add 2, and then instead of adding 2 here, we add 3, and we know we're right because we have 24 with a 0 at the end at the bottom. So 24 goes into 65 twice. That's 48. When I subtract, I borrow. That's 17. Bring down the 4. 174 is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times. That's 168. Subtract, borrow, 14 minus 8 is 6. So here where we could write it as remainder 6 if we could just use a remainder. If we were doing a decimal answer, we'd just add a 0 and bring it down and keep going until we had no remainder. But they want a fraction answer in simplest form. So our fraction is actually 6 from here over 24, which we got from here. So now we just have to simplify this fraction. 6 and 24 are both divisible by 6. 6 divided by 6 is 1. 24 divided by 6 is 4. So my final answer then would be 27 and 1/4. So you can use that guidance to kind of guide you through how to do the other 2 problems at the bottom of the page here. All right, good luck.